Yo, what's up, guys? It's your boy Chris coming at you with another episode to the Beautiful Struggle podcast. And this is episode number 48. And this is your first time tuning into the Beautiful Struggle podcast. This is a personal development podcast and a business podcast. And really, my goal for this podcast is to empower you guys, the audience, to live the life that you truly deserve. So that sounds like something that you're interested in and you want to tune into. We drop a new episode every single Monday of the week. Start your week off right. And we also have an Instagram account that you guys can go ahead and follow where we try to release daily content. That's at Beautiful Struggle Podcast. That's at Beautiful Struggle Podcast on Instagram. So with all that out the way, we have another guest on via Zoom. I'm super excited for this guest. Been trying to get him on for a while, but both of us have been pretty busy. I'm going to introduce him real quick. He's a 25-year-old entrepreneur. He's the owner of Simply Solar. He has an amazing team around him, and really their mission for Simply Solar is to make going solar simple, stress-free, and logical for the clients. And again, he's a young entrepreneur. You guys are going to get great value from him. I'm super excited from this episode. Moe Falah, everybody, what's up? How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks so much for having me on the call. Excited to learn from you while I'm on this, hear more of your story, see what your podcast is about, see what you have to offer, and then likewise in reciprocity, pass that on back to you guys and to your fans, your followers, and help empower people as well. That's awesome. I love how I love how you say it's about empowering people and talking about simple solar aside from what we do to serve our clients and our families that we help and serve. We are dominant in regards to the people that come on and join our company. We help them tremendously. Our team is everything. The reason why I created this company is because I know that I have the ability to help inspire and empower other people and really shift their mindset. Everybody that comes in and starts working with our organization elevates their entire life, aside from just financially and professionally, but personally as well. So empowerment is something that's I'm all about. I'm all about elevating the game for people who follow me, people who work in my organization. So I love that your podcast is about that, and I'm excited to dive right in with you.
Absolutely, I appreciate it. That's already some good words. So yeah, I usually like to start about like where you come from and your background. We can start there. You can go ahead and just tell your story, and we'll go from there.
All right, for sure. So I was born in Toronto, Canada,
Nice.
and grew up immigrant family. My parents were first generation here to the United States. I'm Palestinian, so they moved from Palestine to here. And in 2001, our family moved to Akron, Ohio, a little small town. And my father's a professor, so he taught at the University of Akron. He brought our whole entire family here with him, and grew up in Ohio most of my life. I think we'll dive deep into kind of like the nitty gritty of it, but kind of just like a general overview before we hit the particular. Grew up in Ohio, finished school, went to college for a few years, got a associate's degree. Just didn't really vibe with it. I had a free ride, full ride scholarship. Didn't have to pay for it, but although I didn't have to pay for it, I just wasn't finding real value there. So I felt like the people who I was learning from weren't able to support me in the things that I wanted to achieve. So I left early. I got connected with some mentors. I moved back to Toronto. I started working direct sales with an awesome mentor who directly helped me really learn about direct sales, building wealth, building teams, being successful. Moved from there to Miami, Florida. So if anyone gets my phone number, you'll see it's 305. And I was there for about a year or so before I moved to LA. So I live in LA now. That's where I started my company, and I've been doing it for about a year and a half now. And we're doing great, and I love it here. LA is an awesome place to be. Weather's great.
Oh yeah.
People are cool. Tons of restaurants, tons of cool stuff to do. So yeah, I mean that's just kind of like general overview of my life and where I'm at right now.
Got you. I'm always curious about what was that moment in your life that you shifted from, not really vibing with school and wanting to go out and maybe do something else with your life. You mentioned that you had a mentor that helped you out with that, but where did that shift come from? Where did it come from? Usually people have entrepreneurs as parents or somebody in their family. They seen something that made them think, okay, I want that lifestyle, not this.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You know, always my whole entire life, man, I don't know why I've put a lot of attention on money. Always. Like I have older siblings. I'm the youngest of four. I came about 10 years after them. So, I was 7, 8 years old, and, they were 17, 19, 20. And they were always hustling and, always grinding, always working, always, finding creative ways to make money, finding creative ways to help people. And just from a really, really young age, I was taught like that money is important. And I don't think a lot of people are really taught, that money is important. People really taught, get a job, go to school, et cetera. Nobody really likes to talk about money because for a lot of people, money is a very uncomfortable situation. Now, my older brothers always talking about it, always finding ways to make it, always finding ways to be creative. And, I started really young, like, truly a natural salesperson, always finding ways to make a quick buck in my early ages, right? Like now it's obviously everything's shifted all long term, but from a real early age, like anything I could do, like knocking on doors, mowing people's lawns, washing their windows, delivering newspapers, going to Walmart, buying things, selling it on eBay, garage sales, had these like little in our school, intermediate school, like 2004, 2005, I was like 10 years old. Everybody would used to collect these, they had these mechanical pencils that had like NFL football teams on them.
Okay.
You put a quarter in and you'd spit out a random pencil. I'd find out what people wanted. I'd just stick in a ton of quarters. I'd collect them and I'd spend a quarter on, I'd sell it for $2,
Wow.
And like, just, on chance, right? Knowing like, I can get rid of these if I need to, everybody loved them. Everybody wanted them. So just really early on, just always just wanting to find ways to be creative. Never really had the idea of like working an hourly job. I just always figured like, if you want money, you just go get it. Like, I just always knew like, nobody has to tell you like, this is what you're worth. This is what you get. I just always knew that you could just go out and get it. Like never in my mind did I ever think, how am I going to get it? I just knew that you could just always go out and get it. So, growing up, everybody was really like focused on where am I going to go to school? Where, what kind of job am I going to get? Never in my life did I ever think I was going to get a job. Like it never even crossed my mind what my dream job was. It was just always like, all right, you just go and get money and that's it. So it's I don't know what caused that. I'm assuming that if I had to look back, I'm assuming it's because my older brothers from a really, really young age just instilled the idea of just like, find a way to get money, find a way to bring it in. My brothers never talked about getting a job ever. No, they never studied to get a job. Like they went to school, they graduated from the University of Akron. But they've never talked about like, I'm going to go find a job in this. Nobody in my family ever talked about that. Only person in my family that had a job was my father, and he's a professor, which is actually kind of ironic because you go to school to get a job. He's a professor teaching people how to go get a job, and nobody in my family ever got a job. So
that's interesting.
Yeah.
No, I always think it's really interesting that when people have that family dynamic of what you speak about has a lot of impact on your child, and what they consume and what they see around them has obviously a huge impact. So if you're being brought up in a family that never talks about getting a job, then that's foreign to you. Like, why would I do that? When there's other ways to make money. So I think, and on the other side of it, there's some people that are in families where from a young age they're like, hey, you gotta get a good job. You got to get a secure job. So that's all they know. So it's really hard for them to break out that cycle. You know what I'm saying? So super interesting. What was I got the Simply Solar hat on. Okay.
I got to rep the brand, brother.
Hey, that's what's up. Yeah. So what was like the first official business that you got into? I know you mentioned you were selling a bunch of stuff. Was a solar company the first one, or did you have something else before that?
So the first initial time I took a jab at business in terms of like something that was like legit, I always did like growing up, I did like a lot of illegitimate things. And the first time I ever like actually got into something, I was working, really, really young age, always working, storing as much cash as I could, just like storing it. And one time I was just, I was just a little bit too loud. I wasn't humble. I was speaking too much, talking too much, whatever, blah, blah, blah. It was 2017. No, probably 2016. 2016. No. I was 19 years old. 2014. 2014. I actually got robbed. I got robbed at gunpoint.
Wow.
Yeah. Gun.
Were you in Miami or?
I was in Ohio. I was in Akron, Ohio.
Okay.
Yeah. I got robbed at gunpoint. Had a gun to my head. Took a duffel bag. Took a duffel bag of mine full of money. Took a duffel bag of mine full of money. Nothing like absolutely like insane amounts, but for 19 years old, I think it was like $6,000-$7,000. Made me feel like mad vulnerable. And at that point I was like, I'm not safe. Like I need to, like money can just go like that. I've worked so hard to collect and it can just disappear like that on any whim. So what I did was, about a month or two later, I bought my first property. I was 19 years old. I bought my first property. Is that ding noise? Like,
No,
yeah.
you're good. We'll get over it. It's no problem. You're good.
Okay.
You're good.
So I was 19 years old. I bought my first property. It was a foreclosure. I didn't know really anything about real estate. I didn't know anything about construction.
In Ohio?
Yeah, in Ohio, in Akron.
Nice.
So I didn't know anything about real estate. I didn't know anything about construction, but I always heard, the wealthy earn their wealth through real estate. So I was listening to some guy, I think I was on Instagram. I don't think he's really even that big. His name is like Jay Morrison. And he talks about, and he was talking about,
Jay Morrison?
Yeah, the real estate guy.
I think I know. Yeah. I know who he is. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Yeah. So I was listening to him and he was just saying, he's saying like, renting a place is stupid. You got to park your money into real estate. You can buy it, you can flip it, all this stuff. And literally had no idea what I was doing, but I thought I did. So I bought my first property. And it took me, I thought I was going to get it done in 6 months. It took me about a little bit over 2 years to do the whole entire project. Lost a shit ton of money along the way. Like it's lack of preparation, right? Like I did not know what I was doing. I got in took on a project that was a little bit bigger than what I expected, struggled my ass off the whole entire time. Like so many times where I thought I was going to give up. So many times where I just wanted to just call it quits, all that. I had to find, private investors. I was 20 years old. I went and found a private investor to secure a loan. Ended up completing the project. Like I said, lost a ton of money along the way, but learned an insane amount of resilience. Learned really, you can't give up. You just keep going. And that was the hardest project I've ever done in my life. Everything after that just became real easy because I just couldn't find anything that compares to the difficulties that I endured. And then sold that one. I was 21 years old. I sold it. That's when I met that mentor. And he told me, he's the only way that you can make real money in this world is through sales. Sales. He was like, you can't get a job. You can't do this. I was still in college at the time. He's like, you have to make money through sales. You get a product, you sell a product. That's it. It's the only way that you have to be paid by commission. So I left. I started working with him for a while. Taught me a ton. Another buddy of mine hit me up back in Ohio, and he's like, hey, I just bought 2 houses. I can only afford to renovate one of them. He's like, I'll sell you it. I got it on auction, super cheap. So went back to Ohio. It took me, got another property. It took me 2 months to do, rather than, 2.5. Yeah. It was a little bit of an easier project. It took me 2 months, actually made money on it. So it was a win, right? I didn't let the first
when you went into that, were you kind of oh, I know what to expect from this second go around?
I knew exactly what I was doing.
Okay, cool.
Didn't have a day of struggle. Didn't have a day of struggle on this because I struggled my ass off on the first one. So it was a monster project. And second one, I went in like super easy, just hired the right contract. The biggest thing with the first one is like, I always tried to go cheap. Like I kept on thinking like, oh, cheap contractors are good. Like I'm getting a deal. I'm saving money. This guy's charging me $3,000 less than this person. And I always thought that cheap meant like I'm getting a good deal. But like quickly learned like, if you're paying cheap, you're going to get cheap, and it ends up usually costing you more. So second time I went in, I just found like one contractor that just like charged, a premium, but just got it done right. Like didn't have to hire anyone else. Just knew that he would get it done right. Finished the entire property in like 2 months, flipped it, sold it. And then that's when I, took off to my, so I had to get my win on real estate.
Absolutely.
It got me the first time. I had to get it back,
But, that's really interesting that you brought up that, the first time you obviously struggled. The second time you knew exactly what to do. You know exactly who to call up and whatnot. That's something that my mentor taught me. He said in life, we should only have to struggle one time to get to that, whatever that you're trying to build, whether it's real estate, whether it's a solar company. And once you struggle that one time, everything after that should come a lot easier because you built that first thing and you have a solid backbone for when you go into the next thing. And you mentioned that the resiliency that you built from that, you couldn't really match it from anywhere else. So that's pretty dope. I'm wondering, so you got into, you met your mentor at 21, you said?
So he was a family friend of my older brothers, and he owned his own business. He was in direct sales. And so I've known of him, and then, and he kind of like kept on saying, okay, come like work with me. Let me take you under my wing. Let me show you this. And he was mad successful. I think he was like 25, 26 years old, had the model girlfriend, G-Wagon, R8, penthouse in Toronto. I think he was like 25, 26 years old. Like I look at that guy and I'm like, that's the richest guy I know. Right. So I'm like, all right, I gotta clearly he's doing something right. I want to surround myself with that guy. I want to intake whatever he knows. So that's kind of how it happened. And I want to interrupt you, kind of go back on a point that you were saying, you only have to struggle once. There's a quote that I like, I don't know who says this quote, but he says, it's easier to get rich once than stay broke forever.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's really good. No, the reason why I brought up when you met your mentor, because at this age, you're around 20 years old. For a lot of people, that's the time where they're in college, they're enjoying life, they're going out doing whatever they want. What were some of the sacrifices you had to make from that moment to where you are now? You're only 25 years old. That's 5 years. I'm sure you've had to make a ton of sacrifice. What are some of them that you had to do?
People, like that's like the biggest cheat code.
Yeah.
The biggest cheat code, the biggest hack is who you surround yourself with. It's so crazy. I held on to friends for so long because I've been around them for so long. I'm so used to them. I didn't want to be that person who, starts to achieve things and then drops off, changes, whatever. But it's what you do is, some people just can't match your frequency. Some people just, if you elevate and someone's down, that's not your responsibility to stay down. It's either your responsibility to elevate them. If they don't want to be elevated, then they don't be elevated, and then you just go on and you find new people. It's cutting off the bad fruit off the tree. That's like one of the biggest things. Sacrifice tons of friends, sacrifice tons of nights out to go out, party, hang out with the boys, hit the club, hit the bar, and just staying in. Like I knew my days are so important. If I go out and I drink, I'm literally wasting an entire day. And in an entire day, there's so much that you can do. And all those add up and they compound. And if you start focusing on good things every single day and you stop partying, you stop drinking, you stop smoking, you stop doing all this stuff, it just adds up and it adds up and adds up and adds up. And you just become way more powerful being. And just knowing that, a cup can only be so full, right? If this cup is all the way filled to the top, you can't add any more to it, right? You have to be able to pour some out and then you're going to have to add some more back in it. So I
Right.
consistently had to pull back of what was inside of my life because it just didn't serve you anymore. And then just add new things. And it's a constant like replenishment. You're consistent, like every single day. I'm, or not every single day particularly, but like at least like once a month or so, like I do a refresh, find out what's serving me, what's not serving me. And then I go ahead and I readjust.
No, that's really good. I've had like kind of a similar story where I grew up in Sacramento, moved out to Southern California when I had just turned 19, and I quickly knew that if I wanted to really elevate, like you were saying, go to the next level, I was gonna have to, I don't want to say cut some people off, but put some people in a different category, and just start surrounding myself with better people, more successful people, people that were smarter than me, people that were just on another level compared to me. And even to go back to the drinking and the smoking thing for people our age, for me, I'm 26, so about the same age as you. When I was around 22, 23, people would be like, why don't you drink? How come you don't want to go out? And it's the same thing. One day can mean so much. And I would just tell them, like, hey, I got to be on point for the next day. If it's a Friday night, I got to wake up Saturday. I got to be ready to go. I can't be hungover. I can't be none of that. I have to be 120% every single day. So that's pretty cool that you brought that up. Man, we can jump into Simply Solar and how you started this, why you started this. You can go from there.
Yeah. So, um, so after I left, Ohio, and went to Toronto. I was working in direct sales with this guy, and it was an HVAC company. So we did like heating, ventilation, air conditioning, water filtration systems, water purifiers, reverse osmosis machines, like everything just kind of clean for the home. And it was in Ontario, and the actual province, the whole entire province of Ontario, actually banned solicitation of HVAC systems. And the reason why is because there are a lot of shady contractors in the industry taking advantage of people. So they actually banned the solicitation of it. So Buddy and I were like, shit, what do we do? Right? Like our industry is like basically shot. We like, how are we going to do it? We decided, hey, we're going to go to Miami, Florida. I've never been there before. And we just said, we're just going to go there and figure it out. Like, he's like, where's a place that's hot that we can go serve people? And he figured out Miami. He's like, you want to go? I was like, yeah, sure. Never been. A few days later, packed up my bags, drove like 20, 21, 22 hours, down to Miami, booked an Airbnb for 2 months, had no idea what I was doing. And then we just like figured it out. Like, just figured out, we found the right connections, found the right people to work with. And we just started working, and, we started knocking on doors and trying to learn and trying to figure it out exactly how we're going to do it. Ended up leaving working with him. I found a different opportunity. It's actually funny. It's like, I was just super resourceful, super adaptive. We had this homeowner who, didn't want an HVAC system, didn't want an AC system, but they wanted windows. And I've never sold windows before. I have no idea how they work. I don't know anything about them in terms of construction. So I'm like, yeah, no problem. Like, I'll take care of that for you. I happen to have a tape measure in my car. I go into this guy's house and I start measuring every single window in this dude's house. Windows, balcony doors, like everything. And I'm acting like a pro, as if I know everything that I'm talking about. So I take down all the measurements. I didn't know how to measure. I was doing height first and then width second. So when I did my measurements, they were all backwards. Like that's how much I didn't even know what I was doing. And I get home and I just start calling window companies, and I'm just like, hey, I got a project. I'm trying to sell it. It's a product, right? It's a service to offer. I'm like, hey, I'm trying to sell a product. I call like 6 or 7 companies. One company calls me back the next day. And they're like, hey, yeah, you said you had a project you wanted to do. I was like, yeah. I actually don't work in Windows, but I got the measurements from this person. I actually do AC. I had no intention of working for a window company whatsoever. So they're like, yeah, come to our office. Let's see. So I go there, I meet the owner. We start, chatting it up, whatever. And I give him all the measurements. He's like, all these measurements are wrong. And I'm like, okay, well, like, let's fix it. How do we do it? So 10 minutes later, he gives me a paper, like, filled with like all the information. And he gives me a sample, and he's just like, all right, go sell it. And I was like, I was like, what? He's like, yeah, go sell. I'm like, well, how do they work? I'm like, what's the difference? Is it aluminum? Like, I have no idea. I'm like, he's like, all right, just, tell them this is the best window that they have in market. Go there, build rapport, go sell the deal. So I go there. I absolutely like butcher the entire appointment. Like, it's so bad. I don't get the sale. I go back to that office. I give them their material back, and they're like, you're like, what? Like, it's pretty impressive. You just went out and like did that. How about this? How about like, he showed me kind of like how much money you could make doing it. And I was like, he's like, we're gonna have our manager in here tomorrow. Come back, just learn it. You can offer it on top of your AC. So I'm like, all right, cool. So like, a second product I can offer. That's good to have the connection. Go back the next day, meet with the manager. He's like, you want to actually see how an appointment works? I'm like, yeah, sure. So I go watch him do it. Like, so easy, like how he does it. Signs like a $35,000 contract. I'm like, how much money did you make? He's like, oh, like, $7,200. And I'm like, huh? Like that's that's a good amount of money, I'm thinking. And it was like a lead. Like, the company just gave him an appointment. He showed up, he sold it. And I go back, and then I stopped working with other guy in AC. I just started selling windows, like full-time windows and roofing. In my first month with them, I just quickly became the top producer in the company. All I did was study. Like, just study all day, in and out. How do I become the best? Like, I'm a very competitive person. Like, I hate to lose. No, it's not that I hate to lose. It's just I love to win. I love winning. I love being on the top of the leaderboard always. So first month I became top producer, and then it was like, I sold like $100,000 worth of product. Next month, like 170. Next month, 230. Next month, 325,000. Like, just consistently up stat. Because I just didn't know anything better except for just to go up. Like, always find a way to go up in your life. I just didn't know anything better except for going up. I ended up getting screwed from this company for like $45,000 of commissions. They just don't pay me. They, butcher all these like clients' projects that I sell. And I'm like, shit, what do I do? In one of the appointments, I actually met a guy who was a co-founder in a solar company. And he's just finished selling the solar deal. And he heard my presentation, and he was mad impressed. So he gave me his card. This was like 2 months after I got screwed, 2 months before I got screwed over for commissions. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, do I have this guy's card? Let me see what this is about. So I find the card in my car. And I give the call. I'm like, hey, is this Scott? And he's like, yeah. He's like, who is this? I'm like, this is Mo. I was like, I sold the windows that one time in, I forget the name of the city, somewhere in Florida. And I was like, can you meet? And he's like, yeah, sure, let's meet. So I meet up with him. He explains to me the whole entire solar thing, how it works. And I'm like, no way, this is true. Like, the deal sounds so stupid, like too good to be true. It's like, this is literally, it can't even be a deal. It's that good of a deal. And so I worked there. So I worked there for like a month or two, and they said, if you generate your own deals, you get paid 4x the commission. Like 4 times. If they give you a company lead, you only get 25%. And I was just doing the numbers. I'm like, well, if I generate my own business, I can make this much. And I'm like, oh, okay, I got to generate my own business. I had no idea how to do door-to-door solar. Had no idea anything about it. So and then the big problem was, in Florida, they have strict building codes. So it would take anywhere between, 3 to 5 months to get a project to go in. And I'm commission only. So for me to get paid, it takes 3 to 5 months after I sell a deal. And I'm thinking in my head, if I want to build a team, I want to start something, I can't hire people if they're only going to get paid 3 to 5 months after they get sales. Like, people aren't going to last in this industry.
Right.
I go online, I look up fastest state for solar installations. I find that California has timelines anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks. It so happens to be another guy that I know, knew this co-founder of another solar company based in California. He put me in connection with them. He wanted to wait 3-4 months before I went out and visited him and saw the opportunity and stuff. And I told him straight up, I was like, look, if I don't come out in these next few days, I'm never going to come out to California. And he's like, all right, if you book your own flight, I'll meet you. So I literally booked my own flight that next day, met them. They showed me everything. They taught me how it works. They showed me the money. Went back to Florida, told my boss, um, told my boss, hey, I'm moving to California. He's like, dude, like, that's a big mistake. California is like super, they've been selling solar there for like 10 years. It's a fresh market in Florida. You're going against the wave. I was like, dude, I know, but like, I just got a feeling like I'm going to go there. So I go there January of 19. I'm working with this company. We start making some transitions. I start building a team, start making money. My team is now like the smallest team of a company, and we were doing like over 50% of the revenue, just because
Wow.
just really, really strong sales practices, consistent training, consistent, like basically everything that I struggled with, I just like showed them, hey, like, this is what I did. Like, this is how you do it right. Worked with that company for a while. There were some conflicts that we had, and I just said, you know what, I'm just going to do my own thing. So January of this year, about 6 months ago, officially formed Simple Solar. We started off, with I think like 15 sales in the first month, and then 20 some in the second month, and then third month we did like 4 because COVID, and we had no idea. We were scrambling. We didn't know what to do. We're now in July. In June we did like 106 sales. With 12 salespeople, which is like absolutely insane. Like other companies take 45 to 50 salespeople to do over 100. We are like Simple Solar is a top 1% solar company now. We do more revenue than 99% of all solar companies out there in the industry.
Wow.
And we have an awesome team, awesome dynamic, awesome people, and literally like just such an amazing culture. Like the people on our team, the camaraderie that we have, the family that we have, just is literally unmatched in the industry. So that's kind of like the story of solar, like how Simple Solar started. There was throughout the whole thing, honestly, man, it was just struggle, like through the whole entire thing until now. And like everything now is a struggle still, but it's a good struggle. Like we are consistently trying to create new problems, because overcoming problems allows us to continue to grow. Like we can't be complacent. We can't be comfortable. We have to find new ways to struggle, because without that, like you're just going to get comfortable and you're going to stay the same. But like I told you earlier, like everything I do in my life, I have to go up always. I can never go down. Like I don't allow myself to go down.
No, that's really good. And if you solve those problems, and that's where the money's made, right? But yeah, you said a couple things I wanted to touch on. One of them is the competition. How were you able to deal with the competition in the area and grow so quickly? Like you said, there's a bunch of solar companies around here that I know of as well. I'm curious what set you guys apart. What were you guys doing to set you guys apart and become part of that 1%?
We're just better. That's it. We're just better in everything from our product knowledge to the information that we know, to our work ethic, to our mindset, to our commitment to each other, to building, not only just doing this for today, but doing this to create and set a life for ourselves for the future. I feel a lot of people in the world, they just go through the motions and they're just like, they go, they work, they get the check, whatever. Like within our organization, we focus a ton on personal development. We have tons of continuing education, consistently, like having people who have done way better than us get on Zoom calls with our company, give us training, give us mindset, give us personal development, give us tips, advice. And we hire people. Like I hire people, I pay people to come on calls with our people. Literally, like it's like school. It's like continuing education. And always like being sharp. Anytime there's something new that comes out, like our people are on top of it. Anytime there's new information that comes out regarding sales, business, whatever it is, like we give it to our team, and like everybody's like on it. Everybody wants to win. That's the big thing. Like we're all 1099. We work commission only. We don't get paid unless we don't get paid unless we sell. So we are consistently like on it. Everybody like knows like this is what it takes. It requires a massive amount of effort to be able to get to it. We set very, very high goals for ourselves, and then we reverse engineer like what it takes to be able to get those goals. And we just commit to it. Like we just commit to doing it, and sticking to our commitments builds the confidence for us to be able to do more and more. that I think the biggest thing that sets us apart and that allows us to hit the numbers that we hit is like how good of a culture that we have internally.
Mm-hmm.
Our commitment to literally just being excellent in all areas of our life.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of work, especially, like if you're excellent outside of work, you're going to be excellent in work.
Right.
How you,
Right.
and how you do anything is how you do everything. Uh,
Mm-hmm. No,
so
that's really good. No, no, not to cut you off, but we'll definitely get into the sales right now. I was curious, what are some of the things that you do to improve on your company's culture? Because I'm always interested with that. I'm always trying to learn, what other companies do.
mhm,
Because like you said, the company culture is everything. I'm sure how you guys operate is probably damn near like a family.
mhm. Uh, just consistent involvement. Like
Mm,
like like I'm the CEO and I'm the owner and I'm out there in field with team.
love
I'm
that.
not sitting, it's very easy for me to stay at home. It's very easy for me to do stuff from here. All the time. I really want to stay here. Like I have a beautiful view. Like I've got a beautiful view.
If I'm not mistaken, you right by the Staples Center, right?
Yeah, right by the Staples Center. Like
That's what's up.
it's just so easy for me to stay here.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard for me to get out there, but consistent involvement and like knowing like, hey, I got to be with my team. If the team sees the leader out there, it
Mm-hmm.
forces everybody to do better. It's consistent events. Team dinners, like always, like getting team
Mm-hmm.
dinners, going to the beach with the team, events, competitions internally, lots of like face-offs, challenges. We set a target. We hit that 100 in June. Like we said, if we get to 100, we're gonna all go to Hawaii. So after the summer's over, because summer's like hot season for us, like it's the
Mm-hmm.
best time of the year for us to win big. So after summer, the whole team's going to Hawaii. We hit another target back in I think like October or November. Took the whole team to Big Bear, went to a
Mm-hmm.
resort, ski resort. Like company pays for all this stuff just because it's so important just to keep everything tight, everybody cool. We're very, very quick to eliminate people from our team. We have standards that we set, and if people can't match the standards that we set, they're just going to drag the team down. So we're actually really, really strict about who we hire. One bad seed will ruin the whole entire crop. And
You're
C
only as good as your weakest link.
for sure. And C players will make A players B players. Um,
Mm.
B players will keep A players on their feet, and A players will make B players A players. So we really, really only focus on bringing on A or B players into our organization.
That's really good. Um, I wanted to dive into the sales aspect of the business. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of people say, well, you kind of even said it earlier, sales is probably one of the most important skills that you can learn in business. Being able to talk to people, being able to build relationship. You mentioned how important sales is. Talk a little bit more about sales. You just maybe if you can give any tips to people out there that are in sales, or where people can go to educate themselves on sales in their industry.
Yeah, I truly think that sales is, sales is really everything. Like
Mm-hmm.
everybody says, I don't want to be a salesperson. I want to be a salesperson. Everybody's a salesperson, no matter what. When you go, if you're trying to get a job to be a cashier at
Yeah.
Walmart, you got to sell yourself to Walmart
Yeah.
on why you should be hired. If you're at the bar and you're trying to meet a girl, you got to sell yourself on why you should be that girl. And there are tactics to it. There
Mm-hmm.
little things that you can do that in a psychological aspect that you can really work in your favor to be able to get it. Sales is so important. All sales is just effective communication. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
It's effective communication. Finding out what problems people have and then solving those problems.
Solving.
And sometimes people don't realize that they have problems. So it's oftentimes you have to create problems for them. Like a lot of the people that we meet, they don't realize that they have a problem with their electricity. They don't realize it. And we have to show them and reveal that this is the problem. We start creating that for them. And all sales is if you can effectively create a problem. And then if the product that you are offering, if the value of something is this and the cost is this, they will buy 100% of the time, no matter what.
Right.
No
Right.
matter what.
Right.
If
Right.
value is greater than the money, the purchase will be made 100% of the time.
That's a fact. No, not to cut you off. because I'm in sales as well right now. And one thing that if I bring anybody on the team, if I teach anybody, if I'm talking to the team, there's two things I always say. Number one thing is confidence. You got to have confidence. You mentioned earlier in the podcast when you were measuring the windows, you didn't know what you were doing, but you were confident. The second thing is value stacking. So I've heard a bunch of times that money's only an issue and a loss of value. So if you're not providing enough value for your service, your product, the money's going to be issue. They're going to be like, okay, whatever is $1,000 is too much. But like you said, if the value is greater than the amount, the dollar sign, then sales becomes that much easier.
Yeah, money's never an issue. If people
Right.
want, people will find the money. If I can guarantee, if somebody's mother was in the hospital and a procedure cost 200 grand for them to live, and you had 2 weeks to pull that money out, you will find
it.
money. You will.
Yeah.
You will. It's just like you will 100%, because the value of your mother's life is worth more than 200 grand in the effort that you take to go out and get it. Like, people will always buy if the value is greater. Always. They will find a way to get it. They say like, look at drug addicts. They have zero, but they always find a way to get that fix. Always. They will always find a way, no matter what. Like, why? Because the value of that product is worth more than the money that they have, or that they don't have. They always find a way to get it.
No, that's really good. I know you mentioned a little bit about the importance of investing in yourself, but you want to talk a little bit more about what are some of the things that for personal development, any podcasts you listen to, books. I think I seen you at GrowthCon. You mentioned some of the things that you do, and a lot of people don't realize you can do it for free. You can go out there and obviously learn on the internet for free, but there's a lot of people that are putting up big money to get pieces of information, and they're willing to do that just to improve and just to keep hitting that next level.
100%. Like yesterday we signed an $80,000 contract for 6-month consulting. It's, a lot of people just see like 80 grand, but it's information. Like, I am paying people for information that I don't know that they can help me get, because it's always going to get me going forward. You don't value anything until you put money into it. Money is an emotional thing. So it's the same thing. Like,
say that amount again for the people that didn't hear.
Yeah, 80. It's $80,000 for the consulting, and then it's $15,000 for Inner Circle. So Inner Circle is just a group of it's about 20 business owners. It's 1 year access, once a month call with them, just to be able to be connected with people who are owners of big companies, and to be able to have them at your disposal. Anything that you need, you get advice, some meetings here and there, but total investment is like $95,000 yesterday. 80K for consulting, 15K just to be a part of a group, it's a buy-in to be a part of the group. So but that every single time I've invested money into myself or into my business, it always comes back no matter what. And the reason why is because money, it creates an emotional attachment to the things that you do, such as if you want to get super, super healthy, it's very, very difficult for you to just find ways to always get to the gym. Like, oftentimes you don't want to, but the reason why a lot of people hire personal trainers, and myself, I hire personal trainers, because when I know that my cost for a personal trainer is $60 for an hour's worth of time, I'll get my fucking ass up at 5 a.m. Like, it's $60, whatever, but it's $60, right? Like I have now an emotional attachment to wanting to go and do that thing. That's why, people are like, oh, there's all this information you can get. It's free. It's out there. It's there. But you have no attachment to want to go out and learn. But when you tag, $1,000 for a 30-minute, mentoring session,
you better act on it.
You're gonna be on that 30 minutes. You're gonna look at every single minute with 100% attention, right? Like, it's because you now are forcing because you don't want to see it go to waste, right? Nobody wants to waste things. So it's tremendously important to invest in yourself, invest in information that you don't have, because information will take you everywhere. Like, I know I was talking to this guy who he's a consultant, and somebody gave the guy like $50,000 for like it was like 2 days of just like straight business consulting in the solar industry. In those 2 days, the information that he gave this lady, she was able to go negotiate a way better deal with her installer, bring on new people, and lower their cost of product. Literally in that first month, she made all that money back just because of new information.
Wow.
Just because of new information. Like that's really all it takes, is because we don't know what we don't know.
Exactly.
So it's, if somebody can, and I like some of my family, like, why do you spend so much money on education, on investing in this and this? Because
Information changes situations.
because if I didn't pay them, I would have figured it out, but it would have taken me years. And I would rather know right now, because if I know it right now, I'm gonna be able to make way more, so that by the time that I would have already been in that position where I would have figured it out, I'm already way, way, way ahead. I'm bringing my learning curve from linear, I'm making it go exponential.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was saying information changes situations. They say if you get a mentor, that mentor can do what you said, consolidate 10 years of knowledge into probably like an hour or 30-minute conversation, and save you a whole lot of time and money. So that's really good.
And
one other thing,
and in that, like, really, really important thing that people don't understand, and I feel like it doesn't get talked about enough, is when people buy a product, they don't buy the product, they buy the person first. The first thing that they buy is the person. If they don't like you, trust you, they're not going to buy from you. If you're not a good person, they're not going to buy from you, unless you're just scamming them. But the biggest thing I'd say is, how can you expect people to invest in you and your product if you're not willing to invest in yourself? You want to get, but you don't want to give. I was riding home the other day. Like, you have to give to get. You can't be so stuck and tight on money. You have to understand it's just energy. And if you don't flow energy out, energy is not going to flow back in with you. I'm riding my little, I got this like a little Segway thing. I'm riding this little hoverboard Segway down the road, and this guy's riding up next to me on a bicycle, and he tries to stop me, and I'm like, bro, I was like, I don't got time. I'm like, I don't got time. I'm like, he's like, I just need 1 minute. I'm like, keep up with me. So just keep up with me. I knew he was just trying to sell something. Like right away, I was like, all right, keep up with me. Go ahead. Keeps up with me. This guy's from Compton. He was part of the Crips. Now he works with the police department and some charities. He showed me his credentials. Like, riding the bike, I'm next to him, and he's like riding, showing me all this stuff. And I just interrupted him right away. I was like, are you asking for a donation? He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, I don't have cash. I'm like, where's the closest ATM? And pointed to the ATM, go pull it. I was like, I'll give you $20. He's like, all right, cool. So I go, I pull out $20. Like, what he's doing is sales. I'm a salesman. I go and knock on doors. What he did is knocked on a door, right? Like, I'm a random person. He just comes to approaches. He knocks on a door, which is just me right there, asks for something. How can I refuse somebody who's trying to do something when I do that very thing myself? How can I give resistance towards people that are literally doing the same exact thing to me? Because if I'm going to give resistance to him, then that same outcome is going to happen to me. If I'm very open, free-flowing with people, then people are going to be free-flowing with me. If I need to think about every single time I make a purchase or an investment, people are going to relay that type of energy with me. I'll be completely real. Like, I sell tremendously well. Most of my deals are laydowns. Like you know, a laydown, right? Like,
no, go ahead, explain it.
A laydown is basically like they'll lay down and they'll just buy whatever. Like, you can walk all over them. Like, that's the terminology. It's considered a laydown. Like, somebody who you can say anything and they're just gonna buy, right? All of my clients are laydowns because when it comes to sales, I'm a laydown. I'm a super easy sell. I don't think a lot about it. I look at it, I go, okay, is this gonna provide value to me? Is it worth my money? Do I see myself using this? Okay, cool. I'm going to buy it. And I don't worry about the money because I just know that I can go out there and I can go get it. Like, I can always just go out there and I can go get it. So you sell in the same way that you buy. So if you are really, really resistant about things, people are going to be really, really resistant to you about things.
Wow. I never thought about it like that. And you're right. I mean, everything flows. It's currency. It's energy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, currency is supposed to flow.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really good. I wanted to dive into your leadership. You're 25 years old. You're still really young in my eyes. We're both pretty young. You told the story on your Instagram account the other day of you guys hitting 106 sales in one month, and you mentioned it right now, talking about comfort kills.
Mm-hmm.
You want to speak more about your leadership skills. What are some other things that you do to become a better leader? Because I noticed, I can already tell that you're definitely a guy that's out there in the field. You're not a boss. You are someone that is leading the pack. The boss is the guy that's sitting in the office or that's telling people what to do, but you're out there showing my guys how to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It comes down to, it was probably 2000, I think 2017 or so. It's 2017. I was in Toronto at my brother's condo, and I was watching Jordan Belfort. It was on Straight Line Persuasion, and in one of his like really early episodes, this guy was like worth like 50 million at the time. And he just got into the mortgage industry at that time, and he's always worth 50 million. And he's out there knocking on doors, and he's telling this story. And he goes back to the office, and everybody's like, why the fuck are you knocking doors? Like, dude, you're worth over $50 million. And he said something that stuck with me for a really, really long time. He said, if you, how did it go? He said, if you don't lead your people, it's not exactly like this, but yeah, it's going to be kind of summarized a little bit. It basically goes along the lines of, if you as a leader aren't willing to go out and do the things that you're asking other people to do, they will not listen to you, they will not respect you, and they will not be there for you. He said, if you are out there and you are showing them that you are doing it, that you can do it, that you're willing to, that you're able to embrace it, that you're able to go after it, then you are able to actually talk about it, because otherwise you're just going to be a hypocrite. You'll just be a hypocrite. If you just tell people to do it, then they're going to resent you. They're not going to listen to you. They're not going to respect you, and they will resent you. And I just know that like, as soon as I heard that, like I was like, damn. I was like, that's huge. Like the guy's worth 50 million, and he's out there knocking on doors. Nobody wants to, like, not everyone wants to knock on doors. If you had 50 million net worth, like in your bank account, your assets or whatever, like, are you going to go knock doors? Like I probably wouldn't, like, being completely honest, I probably wouldn't, until I heard him, I heard that. And I was like, shit, this guy, like, how can this guy do it? And I'm over here not wanting to do it, and I have nowhere near that net worth. Like, if that guy can do it and be humble enough to do it, then I need to go there and I need to lead.
And that's a good way to sum it up. Yeah, just to start to wrap this whole thing up, I really appreciate your time and all the wisdom that you're dropping. I'm going to have to go into this episode of re-listen to it to myself and take some notes. But I love to end the podcast off with you leaving us with one last piece of advice. I know you dropped a lot of knowledge, a lot of gem, but if there's one last advice that you can leave the people out there, the listeners, what would you say to the people out there? It can be business related, life related, whatever you want, and we'll end it on that.
For sure, absolutely. That and right before we ended on that, I do want to thank you for your persistence in getting in touch with me. And you've been reaching out for months. I know that, and you happened to catch me at the right time the other day. Timing is,
everything.
Timing is everything. Hardest part of my job.
And I'm glad it happened the way it did. Of course, I would love to do it in person, and maybe we'll sit down one of these days and do it in person. But I just believe timing is everything. So if it didn't happen when I wanted it to happen, it's cool. It's going to come around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, no, for sure. Thanks for having me on. It was fun. When you first said an hour, I was just like, oh, an hour is like a ton of time. And like, we're already past it. What about like that, man?
You get talking and it'll go.
Yeah, for sure. So one thing, and it's just so It's kind of two things really. The hardest part about doing anything is getting started. Once you start, you will go. That's it. The hardest part is getting started. Once you start, you will go. Same thing with going to that first door. Knock. The first door is always the hardest door to knock on. It's just getting in momentum. An object in motion stays in motion. An object in rest stays in rest. Newton figured this shit out hundreds of years ago, right? Um, the next thing is you will never fail as long as you don't give up. No matter what, you will always get through it. No, the hardest. If you are alive, that means you have gotten through every single thing you have ever experienced. Like otherwise, you'd be dead. If you're alive, that means you've gone through every single thing that you've ever, every struggle you've experienced, everything that you've ever gone through, every test you thought you were going to fail, every heartbreak that you had that you thought you're never going to go over, every single thing you've ever endured in your entire life, you've gone through it. So with that, if you're going to struggle, if you are going to get through things, go for things that are going to provide you massive achievement. It's really the struggle at this level and the struggle at this level is the same struggle. You're going to struggle no matter what you do. So choose to struggle at really, really high levels. And as long as you don't quit, you will always make it through 100% of the time, no matter what.
Boom. Love that. Love that. Did you want to leave any social media handles? Let the people know where they can follow you. I'll definitely leave everything in the description of this podcast, but you can go ahead and let
absolutely.
the people know.
My Instagram is my biggest platform. I will this year be starting to expand more into YouTube, shooting more content, getting more into Facebook. But for now, the best thing you'll see it through my Instagram. It's Falah the Leader. So my last name is Falah, Falah, and then the Leader. Follow me on there. Shoot me a DM. And then Simple Solar Official. That's for our business. I post a lot of motivational stuff on there, a lot of information about solar. Anybody who gained value out of this, you gain value out of this. If you feel like some of the things that I talked about resonated with you, feel free to reach out to me. And if you want to work with us, we're here in sunny California. We have, like I said, we have an awesome team. I can't guarantee you a job, but I can guarantee you an interview. So if anybody who would like to work with us, we are able to take people on and help them elevate their life too.
Boom. I love it. All right. I definitely appreciate your time. And it's your boy, Chris.
Awesome.
I'll catch you next week.